Hi, Greg Bell, the News Tribune here at the Superdome in New Orleans. One of the best games I've ever covered, and I'm pretty old. I've seen a few. This was amazing. The Huskies, Michael Penix Jr. did it again with his leadership, with his resilience, with a last drive, one-on-one to Roma Duze down the left sideline. How many times have we seen that? Oregon State, Apple Cup. He did it again to get him in range for a field goal, put them up 37-28 after the Huskies really could have put them Texas Longhorns away a couple times earlier in the fourth quarter. And then the very unfortunate injury to Dylan Johnson at the end of what was supposed to be a clock run-out drive. The Huskies had already run the ball twice and expired Texas' last two timeouts on defense. And then when Johnson gets hurt, it stops the clock with 50-plus seconds left. Johnson, by the way, no sure thing he's going to be able to play in 7 days in the national championship game. He looked pretty hobbled in the locker room, needed to be carted off away from the celebration with his fist pumping toward the fans and his teammates. Michael Penix saying that he's really praying for and worried about his running back. But then the last play. Elijah Jackson. First of all, I'm not sure how you can blitz a quarterback who then looks at his third receiver and has to throw it out of bounds, and that takes less than 5 seconds, which is how much time was left on the next to last play. The clock expired here in the Superdome, and the officials put another second back on the clock to give Texas one more chance. And then Elijah Jackson makes the play that puts UW in the national championship game, knocking down a pass in the right corner of the end zone, and the game's over, and the Huskies win 37-31. The offensive players said on the sidelines they had belief the entire drive. Why? Because this team's 14-0. They do it every week. They've done it for months. They've done it all year. They believe their quarterback will do it. He threw up 432 yards, second most in a college football national semifinal game. And they believed that their defense would come up with a play at the end, and they did. I thought Trice was the edge rusher for Washington was tremendous. Made 3 different stops of Texas in the third quarter. When the game was seesawing back and forth, Washington took a 28-21 lead. Trice off the edge, number 8 in purple, was a menace like he was for much of the Pac-12 title game we covered in Las Vegas. And he really changed the game. 2 stops, forced fumble. And until that point, it was trading points back and forth with Texas. But then 28-21 became 31-21 because of Trice, who was the defensive player of the game. He was the defensive equivalent to Michael Penix, save for Jackson's last play. This team has belief. They really do think they're going to win no matter the circumstance, no matter the opponent. And now it's Michigan 7 days from now in Houston. The locker room afterwards was not one of we've accomplished anything. It was we have a lot more work to do. Edefano Olafosio talked about the fact that they have a lot of work to do, and that, frankly, he said we should have beaten Texas by a lot more, and he's right about that. And he let Texas stay in the game. They let Texas stay in the game. He said defensively they have a lot to clean up before they play Michigan in Houston next Monday night, but yet they keep finding a way to do it. And now Washington has a chance for its first national championship since 1991. One thing about the intensity and just the absolute fun of this team, it was quite the juxtaposition to go from covering the Seahawks yesterday and their faceplant loss to the Steelers in Seattle, fly here to New Orleans and see these Huskies are just fun. They wing the ball all over the field regardless of circumstance. Kalen DeBoer, the coach, going for it on 4th and 1. You rarely see a coach do what he did. First half, the Huskies are backed up in their own end in the tie game. He lines up and does the typical, what Pete Carroll does a lot with the Seahawks, lines up, it looks like they're going to go for it, and a long count, delayed snap count, trying to get the defense to jump off sides. Washington calls timeout. Okay, they're going to punt. Washington calls timeout, and DeBoer puts the offense right back on the field. I mean, Texas players were chest bumping each other over not jumping off sides, and then after the timeout, Dylan Johnson runs for a first down. It's those kind of plays and belief that this team rallies around. It's Jalen Polk here in the end zone. Polk, end of pregame, 30 minutes before kickoff tonight. Got the entire Huskies team, 105 players around him. Native of Lufkin, Texas, transfer from Texas Tech. Texas boy, stomping, firing, pointing, yelling, screaming. You could see that he had it white. His left arm was wrapped in white, and you could see it from 8 levels up there in the press box. You could see his left arm raving back and forth. I asked Rome Odunze, the All-American wide receiver, in the locker room after the game, what'd Polk tell you guys? And he said, this is our time. This is what we believe we are going to do and have believed since August we were going to do, and go do it. Go seize it. He was extra fired up, Odunze said, because he was playing Texas and his home state team. And what's Polk do? Comes out first drive, 77-yard catch that gets Dylan Johnson in position to give Washington a quick 7-0 lead. And then Polk, again, putting his money where his mouth is, tipping a Michael Penix post-pattern pass over the middle, tipping it up over the defender to himself for a touchdown. Penix said after the game they run that play all year long, and he totally believes that Polk will do that. Polk has emerged here since the Pac-12 title game after disappearing at some points of the season. And when they've got Polk going like that, with how much attention defenses have to give to Odunze and Jalen McMillan, it's an embarrassment of riches for Michael Penix. But suffice to say, that man's leadership, doesn't matter who he's throwing to, people respond to him. I have a ton to talk about. I'm 2 hours of sleep. I could do it. It's all on the newstribune.com and on Twitter at GBellSeattle. The Huskies advance to play for the national championship against Michigan next Monday night in Houston. I'll be there with the News Tribune. Thanks a lot, as always, for watching, and as always, Happy New Year.